You know the feeling. You are sitting in a high-pressure meeting, a critical question is directed your way, and your mind goes completely blank. Or perhaps you've been overworking for months, and now focusing on a single paragraph feels like wading through thick mud. This explanation is an attempt from Ajit Kumar Nair, a counseling psychologist from Nair's Epigenetic Wellness. We are going to build a step-by-step cognitive armor routine to protect your brain from that exact kind of pressure. By the end of this routine, you will have a concrete daily plan to maintain your working memory and stop stress from scattering your ability to focus. Physically fortifying the brain's prefrontal cortex against hormonal attacks is the key to clearing stress-induced brain fog. To build that defense, we first have to understand the attack. When you face an immediate perceived threat, your working memory is one of the first systems to sustain damage. This diagram maps the biological trigger. A sudden stressor hits, activating the hypothalamus. This sets off a rapid chain reaction. The signal travels down through the anterior pituitary gland and hits the adrenal glands, which flood your bloodstream with cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. That cortisol travels back up into the brain, specifically targeting glucocorticoid receptors. This physically disrupts the neurotransmitters in your prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, the exact regions responsible for working memory and logical reasoning. Memory loss under pressure is a direct chemical disruption. It blocks neural pathways and makes standard focus impossible without an active intervention. That is just an acute, temporary response. But if you are constantly overworked, that stress reaction never turns off. Your body stays in a continuous state of physiological arousal. We call this chronic burnout. Over a prolonged period, those elevated cortisol levels cause physical damage. Chronic burnout literally shrinks your hippocampus and reduces your brain's overall neuroplasticity, its ability to adapt and form new connections. In your daily life, this shrinkage manifests as severe cognitive impairment. You lose your ability to focus on complex tasks, your capacity to juggle multiple projects deteriorates, and your vocabulary and verbal reasoning skills begin to decline. Because burnout rapidly depletes your mental reserves, your frustration tolerance drops. You develop impulse control problems, snap at colleagues, and find familiar tasks impossible. Burnout structurally degrades your brain's capacity to process complex information and regulate emotional reactions. The damage is physical, but so is the solution. We can push back against this degradation through targeted cognitive training. Clinical studies demonstrate that individuals who undergo specific cognitive training maintain their baseline performance under acute stress. Meanwhile, the working memory of untrained individuals drops significantly. The training acts as a buffer. This chart outlines the exact protocol needed to build that buffer. It requires a 20-minute daily cognitive exercise routine, sustained over a strict 6-week period. That duration is necessary to force structural, physical adaptation in the brain. The core of this protocol is the NBAC task, a rigorous exercise probing both logical reasoning and working memory capacity. The NBAC task flashes a sequence of items on a screen and forces you to indicate if the current item matches one shown N steps previously. It requires you to constantly hold, update, and retrieve information simultaneously. To be effective, these exercises must dynamically adapt to your skill level. Every time you get comfortable, the difficulty must increase, pushing your prefrontal cortex just outside its comfort zone. 6 weeks of targeted training acts as physical armor. It neutralizes the short-circuiting effects of cortisol and secures your baseline performance, even when under fire. Cognitive exercises alone are not enough to complete the armor. They must be supported by daily lifestyle habits that actively strengthen prefrontal cortex functions. First, get 150 minutes of cardiovascular activity weekly to reverse memory deficits. Second, secure 7 to 9 hours of sleep nightly to clear out accumulated stress hormones. Third, use planners to reduce cognitive load. Finally, ensure daily social interaction to lower cortisol. Passive relaxation, like scrolling on your phone or watching television, does not heal the brain. Active mental engagement and habit maintenance are required to build your cognitive buffer. That is the complete routine. 20 minutes of daily working memory exercises like the NBAC task, combined with cardiovascular activity, adequate sleep, and strict organization. When executed consistently for 6 weeks, your daily life shifts. The cluttered, frantic existence gives way to a calm, organized workflow, where tasks are prioritized and completed without the constant friction of brain fog. Biologically, you have developed a highly resilient prefrontal cortex, fully prepared to maintain focus when the next acute stress hits. Thank you for watching. This program was an attempt from Ajit Kumar Nair, rehabilitation professional from Nair's Epigenetic Wellness. Cognitive armor is a daily discipline. By keeping up the routine, you ensure that you dictate your performance, not your stress levels.